Welcome to another episode of 21st Century Rocker Mom Podcast with me, your host, Tani Candler. It's the podcast that just won't quit. Maybe you want it to quit, but it's not going to quit anytime soon. Oh my gosh. Fuck my way up to the top. This is my show. I didn't fuck my way up to the top personally, but that's what this show is about. Not really so much fuck my way up to the top. Lana Del Rey, I will say, kind of looks at that through different eyes in her music. I wouldn't say that she pokes fun at things like that, but she looks at the darkness and the light side, the horror and the glamour and the ugliness and the beauty that kind of is Hollywood and the entertainment industry, even with recent albums doing things like Chemtrails Over the Country Club and things like that. It's like the beautiness and how like pretty things are, and like you can see the beauty in things, and then you see the chemtrails, like all the poison. And what I think she's really talking about is the vampires and the vampirism that is in Hollywood mainly, and that kind of industry, and how they prey upon the young. It doesn't matter what gender you are or what you identify and how you identify, you're going to be preyed upon. It's going to happen, and it happened to a lot of people. How has your week been? I want to know, how has your week been? How are you? How are we all feeling? Are you feeling fit and fine? I'm feeling good. Are you not feeling fit and fine? I hope you are, but if you're not, I hope you're on the trail to feeling better, or you're on the road to feeling better. I hope that happens for you. Either way you feel. I'm going nowhere. I'm here for you. I'm here for it all. Like I said, I'm here for everything. We got Mother's Day on the docket, and I'm going to talk about this later again too, which is weird. And this is weird. And you're probably going to think this is weird. My dad and I actually had a Mother's Day tradition. Every Mother's Day, after I called my mom, I'd call my dad, and he'd pick up the phone, and I always say, in my best like mafioso sort of voice, I would say, "Happy Mother's Day, you mother." So this year is going to be really difficult, like not doing that, because it's weird, but it's something that my dad and I always did. We thought it was funny. It was just something silly that we did. So it's going to kind of, it's not going to be fun. So happy Mother's Day, your mother, dad, wherever you are. And, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. And I mean that, like, not just any kind of moms, any mom in any capacity, moms with kids, moms without kids, fur kid moms, human kid moms, you know what I mean? Moms that have lost babies, moms that have, that dream of having babies. Everybody in the capacity that is a mother in any way. Happy Mother's Day to you, to all the mother figures and all that. We'll talk about that more later. So mothers, it's only natural that mothers protect their children and they take care of their children. This is what mothers do. They make sure that their children are safe. And safety is a big thing. I'm all about safety. Protecting your kids is a good thing. Keeping your kids safe is a good thing. Number one, I'll tell you how I keep my kids safe. Number one, this studio is soundproof as fuck. So I can say things like, "shit-eating son of a bitch," and they won't hear shit. Sometimes a dog bark comes through though, because like my dog is fucking loud. It could like penetrate the sun, It could blow up the sun. It could penetrate the sound barrier. Oh, absolutely. And then I said penetrate. And then number two, here's a clever way to protect your kids. When you're listening to your podcasts, or when I'm listening to something like Lana Del Rey, let's say, or like music with super adult subject matter, throw in those earbuds, or get yourself a pair of Beats by Dre, Beats by Dad. I don't care who you got your Beats by. Don't let your kids hear it. Definitely. 100. Don't let them listen to this fucking podcast right now. So with moms in mind and children too, I watched Judy again. Judy Garland, the Judy Garland movie with Renee Zellweger. And of course, cue ugly crying. I just cried like a little girl. I just cried and cried and cried and cried, like someone took all my dollies away. And it got me thinking about Hollywood and the golden ages of Hollywood. And there was this new documentary out on Marilyn Monroe. And after watching The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe, The Unheard Tapes on Netflix, as well as a few other programs and reading some books, I inevitably fell down the rabbit hole of, Hollywood and its track record of abuse, exploitation, and pedophilia. There's a lot of sexual abuse in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. I mean, lots of things swept under the rug, kind of blind-eyed. And as well, we're going to talk about the hush-hush because, of course, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the things that we don't talk about because that's what we talk about on this podcast. And we're going to talk about death cover-ups. We're going to talk about child star nightmares and tragedies. And maybe Hollywood isn't the best place to grow up. When people call it Holly weird, maybe they're joking around. Maybe it's not such a weird title after all. I wouldn't want to raise my kids there personally. I'm going to say this. Even under the watchful eye of parents, guardians, handlers, and all these things that you get in Hollywood, it all happened. And you know what? It's still happening now. Today, yesterday, it's going to happen tomorrow. It's happening. And this exploitation still happens, whether it's children or adults alike. In the entertainment industry, especially in Hollywood, I'm going to start with the golden age and then when, it kind of started and people started coming out about it. It happens so much and the perpetrators are not all men. So before you think that I'm going to barbecue and have a boy barbecue here, I'm not going to hop on that train. I'm not. Abuse or gender has nothing to do with the victims and the people that are being victimized. People and children are being fed to the vampires that are the industry that is Hollywood, that are our executives, producers, directors, talent agents. It doesn't matter. Whatever, managers. It doesn't matter what adults are being fed to them too. It's just people are being fed to the industry and the industry's sucking them up like vampires. It's fucked up. So I wanted to talk about it. Of course I did. And generally they start young and they got to start somewhere. So let's start with one of my favorite young actresses. Let's go right to the world's most famous child star and one of the world's most famous child stars and inevitably one of America's sweethearts, Judy Garland. Judy rose to fame as you know, probably as in the blue checkered dress as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz with Toto and everything like that. But you likely probably just know that about her and maybe not too much more. You probably just know a lot of surface stuff and that she died, mysteriously, or that she took an overdose of sleeping pills and she died young and things like that. You might know her kids, Liza Minnelli, as being one of them, being very famous on Broadway and singing a lot, doing cabaret shows, being a really famous entertainer, things of that nature. But in 1938, let's just dive a little deeper, shall we? Judy was going through hell. This one definitely really hit me because Judy Garland, after watching that movie too, Judy Garland was a mother and not only an actress, she's a mother to 3 children and she dragged her kids into kind of everything that she was going through after she had kids. However, she was raised by Hollywood. Handlers, studio executives, producers, directors, dance instructors, vocal coaches, professional coaches, makeup artists, this person telling her this person telling her that, people telling her what to do kind of all the time. She was told what to do, what to wear, how to speak, how to eat. That kind of struck me. That's as the most kind of detrimental thing as being a young person in Hollywood. Being told what to eat and how to eat. And then she was kind of fed a steady diet of amphetamines as diet pills. Constantly. She was given them, she shook because, I think amphetamines is speed, right? It gives you tremors. You're not going to feel good if you take that all the time. So that was given to her as an appetite suppressant so she would fit into her dresses. She was literally given drugs as a child. They were giving drugs to a child. Her experiences are shocking. She started acting and performing young as the Gum Sisters because before she turned into the Garland Sisters, she was actually born Frances Ethel Gum. And she didn't change to Judy Garland until later. But she joined her two older sisters singing in her dad's theater, and her mom accompanied them on piano, and they called themselves the Gum Sisters. And later on, they changed their names into the Garland Sisters because Frances Ethel Gum just wasn't going to work in the vaudeville circuit or the Orpheum Theater circuit or anything like that, like I say, in vaudeville. And so eventually she changed her name to Judy Garland. After Louis B. Mayer from, MGM, and after Louis B. Mayer, MGM, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, asked a friend to scout the Garland sisters, Judy and her dad were brought into MGM in 1935 for an audition. And she was like super excited about that. She went to the audition and, everything went well. However, Judy just unfortunately didn't fit the body type that the studio thought. The studio thought that Judy did not fit the body type of the regular girls they're coming in and out of Hollywood. She wasn't a Lana Turner. She wasn't an Ava Gardner. She wasn't really even a Liz Taylor, because Elizabeth Taylor was doing movies like National Velvet at that time, and people thought she was really pretty because of her eyes and her raven hair. And she was told she was kind of an ugly duckling. And even Louis B. Mayer said her only saving grace was her voice. And to her face, he called her his little hunchback. And later in that year, 1935, her dad, Frank Gum, passed away of meningitis. Actually, he went into the hospital and he passed away very young. He was 49. He took a turn for the worse. He went to the hospital and just passed away really quickly. It devastated Judy Garland. And this was just really difficult for her. And I think her dad was kind of always in her corner, and he encouraged her to do everything that she did. He took her to all her auditions. He helped her along. He had his theater, obviously, where she had performed with her sisters. Her dad was, her corner person. And I get that 100%. She did lots of movies in that time, like throughout that time with Mickey Rooney. Like that was kind of her opposite co-star. I call them like almost like a Disney afternoon movie. They're just light, really fluffy, marshmallowy kind of movies. She did a lot of that with Mickey Rooney. But in 1948, she suffered a nervous breakdown. This was her first of many nervous breakdowns. And she was committed quietly, and this is for her first suicide attempt, to an institution. They want to say a sanitarium. I wouldn't call it that. She was committed to a facility that was into helping her with her mental health. And not many know that. And it's not really a wonder, though, that Judy Garland was committed so early and she was having these suicide attempts so early. She was cornered in so many Hollywood offices, locked into places with, the producers and executives had, the locking remote controls, then they lock the doors on you, and it would be at that time like a wolf chasing a sheep around a fucking desk. Everybody knows about the Hollywood casting couches. Everybody knows about that stuff. And it's terrible. It's grueling work schedules. It's not being able to eat. It's being told what to do. It's a diet of amphetamines and sleeping pills. It's Hollywood and the people in it being, constantly groped and fondled. And that's the industry. You have to just put up with it. And then threatened at the same time with the promise of like, I'll ruin you if you tell anybody. That's what Hollywood was like back then. And like I say, it's still like that now. There's still that stuff going on. Like, look at what happened with the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Like, we'll talk about that later as well. But like to say, like, promising that I'll ruin you is kind of, that's a big promise for assaulting somebody so badly. Judy Garland had 5 marriages. Maybe you didn't know she had 5 marriages. We're going to go down the marriages. I had to write them down. But like I say, like I feel like Judy Garland was kind of always looking for love, because after she lost her dad, that's when that kind of thing started to happen. So in 1941, she married David Rose. She was married to him until 1944. He was just a regular old Joe Blow off the street. And then she got married to Vincent Minnelli in 1945. And she was married to him till 1951. But subsequently, in the middle of that, they had Liza Minnelli, their daughter, who is Liza, like, you know what I mean? Like Liza, like holy shit, like Liza Minnelli. So Vincent Minnelli, a good relationship came out of that. Well, I don't know if a good relationship came out of that, but Liza Minnelli came out of that. And then she went on to Sid Luft, who she had 2 kids with. She had Lorna Luft and she had Joey Luft. They were married from 1952 to 1965. That was a long marriage. It was a tumultuous one, but a long one. From 1965 to 1969, she was married to Mark Herron. And then in the last years of her life, from 1969 kind of to 1969, she was married to a really young guy who was like a lot of years her junior, named Mickey Deans. You can read about it on the Google or the Wikipedia or wherever you want to do that. You can watch the Judy Garland documentaries. You can read some. I read her sister's book about her, and I think it was her sister's book. It was very telling. And it told a lot about her life, and she told a lot about her life. Her career, unfortunately, and her finances took a gigantic nosedive, and because she got deeper into kind of drugs and alcohol, unfortunately, and I mean, the industry had destroyed her, it ate her up. With her personal life was kind of, it was in shambles. No one really wanted to hire Judy. She was unpredictable. She wouldn't show up to rehearsals. When she did show up to rehearsals, she didn't want to sing. She didn't want to dance. She didn't want to rehearse it really at rehearsals. So she was kind of unhireable at the time, unfortunately. And she'd driven herself into financial ruin. She was kind of taking any gig that she would get, often for a pass the hat sort of payment system, almost like a vaudevillian sort of idea, pass the hat, see how much we can kind of make. And she was broke, and she was homeless, and she was addicted to drugs. And, the thing that blows my mind is it was all with her children in tow. And that's the thing that really, it kills me. When I watch Judy, I weep for Judy Garland. It's terrible what Judy Garland went through, and it's terrible what people are still going through. But I weep for her children, because they were along for that ride the whole time, and they were dragged right into the middle of it. They were moving from hotel to hotel. They're getting kicked out of hotels. They were staying with whomever, staying on floors. They'd stay with their dad while she was somewhere else. She'd have to go. It just, not good. Not good. Even performing on stage with her. And then, they could get to they had to eat, right? So, that's another thing. Stage mothers, up until Judy's death, in 1969 on June 22nd, Judy was found dead in the bathroom of her London home that she rented. She overdosed on 97 milligrams of Seconal, which is a sleeping pill. Her death was accidental. It was an accidental overdose. It was an accidental overdose of a very strong sleeping pill, which I say is like a barbiturate. It's very heavily sedative. It puts you in quite a coma-like state, and she was found that, unfortunately, through medical findings, Judy was living on borrowed time. Like I say, she had significant cirrhosis, one coroner found. And they kind of said she was living on borrowed time anyway, from kind of the years of what had gone into her body already. There were lots of signs of bulimia nervosa on Judy Garland as well upon examination. So now she was also quite in debt when she passed. And Liza Minnelli and longtime family friend, strangely enough, Frank Sinatra, paid her estate and her debt off when she passed away. Her entire estate was worth almost nothing when she died. Almost nothing. Like today, what it was working, if you worked it out today, it would be literally almost nothing. And then again, Sid left at a time, one of her ex-husbands had to auction off some of her things in order to pay back her debt. Liza Minnelli was performing to pay back her mom's debt and pay money back on her estate and kind of back taxes and things that she owed and people that she owed money to. And I mean, like I say, she was in financial ruin. I don't know what the connection was with Frank Sinatra. I'm going to look more into that, because that's interesting to me, because Frank Sinatra was kind of I'm just going to put this nicely, a fucking rapist, hugely in Hollywood. Lots of girls got fed to Frank Sinatra. I will talk about that later. But Judy Garland, I think she was just looking for a place where bluebirds fly over the rainbow, and it ended in absolute tragedy and ruin of her life and ruin of her children's lives. And I think that, like it does to a lot of people, Hollywood killed Judy Garland. There was no kind of hope for her, and it destroyed her. And when she didn't fit their purpose and serve them what their purpose was any longer, they got rid of her. And all I can think about is those poor kids, because they got dragged along and they witnessed everything that went along with her. They got dragged along on a big old messy roller coaster and dragged along on a big old messy ride. And, Judy Garland inevitably, like I say, she became what she hated. She became a stage mother, which she absolutely hated. She became one of these stage mother Svengali's, like I say, and she inevitably absolutely hated that. And she became one of them. So it was not good. Judy Garland may not have liked stage mothers, but in the end, like I say, she became one. Stage parents, Fengali's. Oh my God, I can't say more about this. Oh my God, you know what I'm saying. Stage parents, not just stage mothers, stage parents. People that live like vicariously through their children. They're just those stage parents that are hovering at the side of the stage, giving their kid the moves and, doing all that stuff with the kids. You've seen Beaches, That's the glory of love. It's got Mayim Bialik in it. It's got Barbara Hershey in it. It's got Bette Midler in it. You are the wind beneath my wings. It's got the stage mother in it. She follows the kid around and she's doing all the moves and everything like that. Most famously, it's like stage parenting is like pimping out your kids. Or how about Gypsy? That's actually a true story too. It's, it's got Natalie Wood in it. It's a true story. It's the true story of Gypsy Rose Lee, who was followed around by her mother, famously trying to make her younger sister, who they kind of infantilized, I would say, Baby June, who was played by Rosalind Russell in the movie Gypsy, about this famous burlesque dancer, Gypsy Rose Lee. That ended up being her stage name, famously starring Natalie Wood, another person that Hollywood ate up and just absolutely completely ruined. And like Rosalind Russell played this overbearing mother, much like Natalie Wood's real mother, who didn't really protect her from anything in real life. Now, of course, I want to talk about Natalie Wood because we talked about, on top of all the stuff that things have, people have gone through in Hollywood, and on top of all the abuse that Natalie Wood endured, she took a lot from her actual stage mom, because we were talking about stage mothers. Her death has been a mystery. Natalie died apparently after falling into the water after being on a yacht with her then husband, two-time husband, Robert Wagner. They were off the coast of the Catalina Islands. She fell into the water and he didn't want to search for her until 2 hours later. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning. Natalie Wood couldn't swim. Natalie Wood was kind of scared. Natalie Wood, thanks to science and her sister, Lana, Natalie Wood's death has been more looked into. Natalie Wood kind of was fed to Hollywood by her mother. She was told she was going to die by this Russian gypsy in dark water. That always scared her, and it made Natalie Wood kind of, I think, revert into her child self and be really, like I say, another person that was kind of feeling infantilized because of what happened to her as a kid. She was fed to Frank Sinatra when she was 15 by her own mother. Natalie Wood she was raped by Kirk Douglas at 16. Her own mother knew about it, but kind of told her to suck it up, Buttercup, because it's going to ruin your career if you fucking tell anybody. So don't. So Natalie Wood, like I say, she was kind of doomed from the beginning. After that Russian gypsy told her that she was going to die in dark water, I think she took it to heart, and I think it killed her spirit. And I think all the abuse killed her spirit. Robert Wagner, her relationship with him could be best described, I think, as more tumultuous, because she walked in on him and his lover, who was apparently a male lover. And at that time, Robert Wagner was the kind of guy who was like the Bobby Rydell of, Bobby Sox. He was very hyper masculine. He didn't want anyone to know that maybe he had a male partner. That couldn't get out. So apparently they had a fight during new evidence from her sister's book about Natalie Wood's death. Lana Wood, she's 8 years Natalie Wood's junior. She, was there the night that Natalie Wood got raped by Kirk Douglas. She said Natalie Wood kind of got back in her mother's car. She looked disheveled and she just said, Lana, something bad happened. She was 16 at the time. She writes about it in the book. It's quite disturbing. So like major trigger warning, like I say. But like I say, her mom knew. She never protected her from anything. And I say, like, it's a parent's job to fucking protect you. And so Natalie Wood knew all this stuff about Robert Wagner. And there was this stuff in a police book, because her death was originally ruled an accident. There's a police murder book, and they have like a homicide book that this author was looking at, actually from the New York Times or the New York Post. I was just reading about it. And they had all these notes, and I read the notes from this murder book that it looks like Natalie Wood's death had been covered up because there had been like significant blows to her head. There had been eyewitness accounts, lots of eyewitness accounts, that her and Robert Wagner were really fighting a lot and things were not, good between them. And she knew too much. And speaking of people that knew too much, oh God, Marilyn Monroe. She knew too much. Talking about people that knew too much. That poor girl. That tragedy and the mystery that is Marilyn Monroe. Everybody used Marilyn Monroe. Like I say, the Hollywood industry and the entertainment industry used her up. Marilyn Monroe was eaten up by the vampires too. They wanted a sex kitten, and yet they wanted a virgin. They were pissed when, she hadn't, they found out that she'd definitely done it before, and they weren't the first person to have sex with Marilyn Monroe. They wanted the sex kitten and the virgin. It's like, which one do you want? They couldn't decide. And so somebody at a studio or a movie executive or a producer or a director or one of her husbands or boyfriends went, they find out that all of a sudden, they're not the first guy she's been to bed with. Holy shit. Oh my gosh, they almost fall out of their seat. The sadness, like I say, that I feel for Marilyn Monroe, the sadness I feel for her is profound. She was passed around, like I say, in Hollywood, and passed around and around and around. She was passed around from home to home when she was a child, from relative to relative. She was kind of, nobody wanted her. She was always looking for love. She just wanted to be loved. And I think she was begging for it from the beginning. And then she spent so many times being assaulted by studio executives and producers and co-stars and directors. She became so depressed that she ended up with an addiction to a lot of medications. Not only medications, but to men. And to really toxic men. And she loved and she craved like acceptance. And she really wanted things to work, I think. She was married famously to Arthur Miller. There was a lot of her famous marriages and unfamous marriages. She was famously married to Arthur Miller, like the famous playwright. She was married to Joe DiMaggio. She had famously been involved with both Kennedy brothers, obviously John F. Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was once the president of the United States, who was famously assassinated. Jack and Bobby. Jack and Bobby. She was famously involved with both brothers, the Kennedy brothers. They were notorious playboys, hot on the heels of their fucking scumbag father. Another scumbag Kennedy. Marilyn was sitting, like I say, she was sitting in on closed door meetings with both of these guys because she was sitting at breakfast with Jack and Bobby. She was listening to conversations that she probably shouldn't have heard. She was weighing in on conversations she probably shouldn't have weighed in on. The FBI was looking at her for a long time. They labeled her a communist for her views on things. The CIA was looking at her for a long time. And because, of course, she was sitting with powerful men and voicing her opinion, also being a woman, and identifying as a woman, I think she was really targeted because of that. I think Marilyn Monroe, I think there's a lot of things that kind of happened to Marilyn Monroe, and a lot of it happened because of Bobby Kennedy. And, she knew a lot, and maybe, like I say, more than she should. And one night, after a particularly really terrible, terrible fight, and if you'll see the Netflix documentary and you read a few things, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a famous historian who's got kind of all the things on Marilyn Monroe. She famously had a terrible, terrible fight with Bobby, and the morning after she'd been found by a housekeeper who was like the lone person, who was the only person there. I'm only putting this in quotations because I think it's bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Now the story changes because there was more than just the housekeeper present. Bobby Kennedy was there, baby. It turns out, like I say, witnesses say, and they attest to Marilyn and Bobby having a horrible fight. Horrible, horrible. And then Marilyn, according to the housekeeper, locked herself in her room. She was depressed. She probably took some sleeping pills. She wouldn't come out. Now, originally, no one had heard from Marilyn all night, but the housekeeper said that she locked herself in her room, so she knows that she'd been there at night. So the housekeeper had actually been around and knows that Marilyn locked herself in her room. She was upset. There's a lot of shouting going on the phone. They had a fight over the phone. And now, when no one had heard from her, witnesses had happened to say that Bobby Kennedy was actually there, and he was called to the scene when the housekeeper said that Marilyn had been found unconscious. Bobby Kennedy came to the scene, and an ambulance was actually called. And the ambulance people, the fine folks who were in the ambulance at the time, can attest to the fact that Marilyn Monroe was actually alive, but like semi-conscious in the ambulance. Like she had definitely overdosed on sleeping pills, but she was semi-conscious and still alive when she was in the ambulance. And then she passed away in the ambulance. That Bobby Kennedy was with her in the ambulance. And then the ambulance was promptly called off when she passed away in the ambulance, and she wasn't taken to the hospital. She was taken back to her house and placed where she was ultimately found, where you see the pictures that are terrible of the death scene of Marilyn Monroe on the internet. So was she set up? Or did she pass away? Was she staged? I think the death was like the absolute, the placement of her body and everything like that was totally staged. Bobby Kennedy, I think, was a piece of absolute shit. She's put in the bedroom again where she was found, you know, with the bottle of sleeping pills. Famously, that's been on all the books and like all the biographies about Marilyn Monroe up until now. So I would encourage you to kind of get on that train and check that out. Unfortunately, she was like returned to her home. She was put there. She was put there. And the Kennedys had her put there. They thought she was a fucking communist, along with Arthur Miller. She'd been watched, like I say, for years. She starts rubbing elbows with these political people, and then she ends up dead. Bang. She's gone. That's funny. Killed off in Hollywood so young. And so I guess in Hollyweird, you either got to be called a liar, you got to be killed off, or you got to be paid off. And paid off to be quiet. These are all things to be quiet. Called a liar, being killed off, and being paid off. That's the hush hush of Hollywood. That's something like that I don't know. What is that worth? What is that worth? What is something that like what is that worth to who? To whom? You want to know to whom? I know exactly to whom. The leader of the pack. Vroom vroom. The leader of the 2017 Me Too, the hashtag movement. Against that piece of fucking garbage, Harvey Weinstein, because he assaulted so many women, and so many women came forward after the Me Too movement came forward. Asia Argento, she's famously the daughter of Italian horse splatter king Dario Argento, and I love his films because they are like so splattery and so like they're just messy. What can I say? There's a lot of blood, a lot of stuff going in Dario Argento films, but Asia Argento or Asia Argento, however you want to refer to her, is, like I say, the famous director of horror splatter king Dario Argento, and also she's made headlines for other things as well. Not only being his son, not only being a great Italian actress, not only being the pioneer, like I say, of the Harvey Weinstein movement in 2017. It came out that in 2013, after she was so forthcoming about her assault with Harvey Weinstein, as many as other women were, thank goodness, she was backed by her then boyfriend, Anthony Bourdain, and we'll talk about that later. All of a sudden, Asia Argento skeletons come out of the closet, and they find out that in 2013, this was 2013, like I say, there was a young man named Jimmy Bennett. He came out and admitted that in 2013, he'd been sexually assaulted by Asia Argento in a hotel room when he was just 17 years old. And she was 37 years old at the time. Like, that's so close to my age, that makes me want to throw up. And this happened in 2013, like I said. She already had offered him, this is disgusting, a non-disclosure settlement. And that was to the tune of $380,000. And at the time, being such a young boy, he took it. Being young and being male, this is the reasons here, he's saying behind the reasons that he took it. Being that young and being male and being in that industry, especially being a teenage boy, he said that he felt that if he came forward at that time in 2013, he thought no one would have really believed him. And this is so sad because this is why so many people continue to stay silent and they continue to have this happen to them. And this is why they continue to not come forward, because of victim blaming, victim shaming, being afraid to come forward because no one's going to believe you. Like I say, the doubt, the self-doubt and the guilt that no one's going to believe you. So he came forward, and when people tried to continue to have this stuff hush hush, the cover-ups, the payoffs, the fucking denial. Asia Argento herself was in denial about this. And this one, she was completely in denial too, until, you know, some people, like serial killers, like to keep trophies, and so do pedophiles. And sometimes those trophies are photos. And sometimes those photos end up on fucking TMZ, and they're topless photos with you and the 17-year-old child you sexually assaulted when you were 37, who I'm not going to like say anything about but you played opposite his mother when he was 7 years old. So she already knew this kid and had a relationship with this kid. She played opposite his mother when he was 7 years old in a film when she was, younger. And so she already had established a relationship with him. She knew him. So she assaulted him, like I say, in this hotel room. She kept this picture of them topless in bed together. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to put it on my Instagram. He looked 13. This child looked 13 with the teen stash. Oh my God. She kept, like, you could see it from a mile away, and she kept denying it. But except there were texts to her friends where she was bragging about it and said that she didn't really know that he was, she was bragging about like the sex and whatever, and didn't know that he was underage until like the shit hit the fan. Honestly, you take one look at him, lady, and you can tell that he's underage. I'm sorry, but you're a pedophile. So women are pedophiles just as much as men. It's just disgusting. Like, I'm just saying, she should have been cool, and it's just me. But wouldn't it have been nice of her to like ask, for like consent, or like his age, or like his ID, or I don't know, or something, just, I don't know, to be on the safe side of the fence. It would have been cool. This guy had a teen stash supreme. So, you know me. I love my facial hair. I love my beards. I love my mustaches. I love my mutton chops, my sideburns. I love the mustaches of any sort, like the curly ones up in the side. I love the mustaches that are incorporated with beards. I love, like, everything that goes along with facial hair. I'm into it. The beard oils, the beard bombs, the beard butters, all the things with the beards. I love them all. This did not look like the face of a grown man. This was the face of a child. Even if it was covered in beard, you could see it was still the face of a child. This kid couldn't grow a beard if he tried. So I'm just going to say, when your boyfriend's mustache looks like Mary Kay Letourneau's boyfriend's mustache, you probably shouldn't be your boyfriend. Oh my God. And if anyone doesn't know who Mary Kay Letourneau was, she was that teacher who was like my age, who that 14-year-old boy, I think, in her class got her pregnant, and her boyfriend like had a little teen stash, because that's what he was, a teenager, a child. And she got put in jail for it. Like, everyone should be put in jail if you do that kind of shit. Disgusting. But there's things in Hollywood that glorify it, like films like that, That's My Boy, with, Adam Sandler, the one where he's really loud. Like, I think all the movies that he's in are really loud. He's funny. But that movie really, and Susan Sarandon, like I say this, she's smoking hot in that movie. But what can I say? That movie kind of glorifies child abuse. A boy that was with his teacher. That's happened a lot. It's gross. And so, more on that later. Like I say, Asia, with her allegations, she had so much support. I think she thought she had so much clout in Hollywood that she'd get away with it. She didn't. And so she, even with support and the people that were standing behind her, they started doubting her once there was proof, and she was ultimately proved that she that did happen, and she'll deny it to this day. And then, like I say, ultimately she, I think, in my opinion, my humble opinion, only my humble opinion, ultimately led up to the death of Anthony Bourdain, her then boyfriend at the time, who was supporting her. He kind of dropped his career and everything he was doing to support what she was doing in this Me Too movement that she was into. And like I say, it's not that she wasn't assaulted by Harvey Weinstein, but it's that she was also assaulting people. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So I don't know. People have been talking about pedophiles and predators in the industry for years. I mean, Corey Feldman has been talking about it openly and honestly for decades. He's been like so forthcoming about himself, Macaulay Culkin, Michael Jackson, things of that nature that happened. Anyone who saw the documentary, which is the tragedy that is Finding Neverland, that film was really hard to watch. For me, at least, it was for like Rob, obviously, like my partner too. It was too much. It was a lot. He's really vocal about abuse and abusers in the industry, but he's really had to be consistent and keep fighting. Like, because he identifies as male, and he said a lot of times that people just don't believe you because, for him, he said, just because you're a guy. Like, he said that he's been quoted saying that many times. People don't believe you. But he's been drugged and given alcohol and things and abused from a really early age. And he's been vocal about it. And I'm glad he's kind of kept fighting and kept the crusade against child abuse in the industry kind of going, and kept awareness to that, and made sure that that people know that it's still going on, and people know that it's something that they need to protect their kids from. And I think there are a lot of good parents in the industry right now. And like parents, I see like Billie Eilish's parents. I see them really involved, in her brother, Phineas, involved in their careers. And I see how much they're around them, and I see them being very protective over them. And I don't see those kids getting involved in any shit. I don't see those kids as shit disturbers, especially not in the industry. And I just don't see it as bad at all. So again, the fear of not being believable because of gender is horrible. So my hat is off to Corey Feldman for really pioneering on that crusade, for like a children's crusade, and being a voice of a lot of people who don't have a voice. Because again, like, look what's happened to Johnny Depp. I mean, and he's an adult, but we see through all of the adult stuff, and we see the courts, and we see the fighting, and what's left? It's just a child who wants and needs to be protected and should be protected. And that's what needs to happen. But it doesn't look like it's going on in Hollywood at all. Even child stars like Shirley Temple, you know, like an adorable little curly top, she went through hell too. She went through absolutely grueling working conditions. She started acting and working at the age of 3 years old. Can you believe, like, I couldn't imagine putting like my children into acting, and something that young was really long, grueling working conditions, hard working conditions, things aren't, you know, meant for children. They're meant to be outside playing and soaking up the sun. They don't need to be under like the lights all the time. And, you know, I think it's fun for them if that's what they want to pursue, but like, I don't think you need to push them into that. And like I say, the stage parenting to me really bothers me. If my kids ever want to do something, they like tell me what it is. Usually it's like, can we put a tent in the backyard and camp? And you know what I mean? It's not, if they want to play piano, they play piano. If they want to play guitar, they play guitar. But that's their choice. That's not me pushing them into stages and saying, hey, you need an agent. You need to go on commercials and force them into things. Because even, like I say, child stars, they get forced into something that I think is, in my opinion, child labor. And Shirley Temple was forced into just that. She was forced into the stage like real young. She had horrid long working hours. The conditions were bad. She was extremely, extremely hurt at a very young age. She was a subject of horrible rumors being young. Some people said that she was born with some sort of dwarfism and she wasn't actually a child. There was rumors going around Hollywood that she was actually an adult, and that's why she didn't really age, even though she did. They said her teeth were filed down to look like a child's. She said she didn't exfoliate or lose any teeth when she was really wearing just like dental plates, what they call flippers in dentistry, just to show like that she had teeth where her teeth were missing. It's just to replace 1 or 2 teeth, flippers. The kids and toddlers and tiaras wear those fucking flippers all the time. So I don't know what the fuck people were bitching about with Shirley Temple. It's ridiculous. People were pulling on her hair. They didn't think her curls were real, but that the shit she went through every night to get her curls as beautiful as they were, the solution she had to wear in her hair, plus all the little curling iron things, like all the little doodaddies that you curl in your hair. Like, she was going through pain every night, like physical pain, and the solution burned her head, and she had to go to sleep with it on to keep that little mop top, curly top image going. You know what I mean? I don't think she really loved it, you know, growing up like that. I was, you know, absolutely enamored with Shirley Temple growing up. I loved her. I thought she was so cute. I used to rent her movies from the library all the time growing up. I used to watch them all the time. I remember my favorite one was Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. I remember all the music from it. It was so cute. But like, I look back on it and I think, like, how young was she when she did that movie? Like, younger than 12, I think. And Shirley Temple Black, like I say, she's fabulous in Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. She's fabulous in Heidi. That was another one of my favorite of hers. Poor Little Rich Girl was another one that she did that was great. But like I say, she was just a child when she was doing these. And then all this kind of stuff was happening in Hollywood, and she was making all these movies. So she was, of course, printing friggin' money. Absolutely making money hand over fist. And her father robbed her fucking blind. Absolutely blind. She was robbed by her father. The studio executives were pig with her. Like, they were pigs with her too. They're absolute pigs. Like, I think they were pigs just with about everybody. her daughter, inevitably, when she became Shirley Temple Black and she had children, grew up, her daughter inevitably became one of the Melvins and became addicted to heroin. And in her tell-all book, Shirley Temple Black, now rest her soul, will say and tell about how she helped her daughter kick the heroin habit and, helped her kind of avoid rehab. And actually, this is funny, she served as a United States ambassador to the Czech Republic at one time. So Shirley Temple really kind of turned things around. She really came out of the fire and she never stopped, She never kind of stopped going. She didn't really get addicted to drugs. She didn't get sucked in as much. She didn't let Hollywood get her down as much as many people did. In her tell-all book, she will say that she forgave her father for robbing her blind and taking all her money and all her riches. That's really admirable, I would say, for taking all of her money. That's crazy. She made so much money and he took it all away. If you read her book, like I say, it's really good. It's a tell-all, sort of memoir. Her warmness and her kindness really comes through every page. I will say that. She's as sweet as kind of you think she is. So she actually said in the book, she said so many things that blew my mind, that it made me think, what a lady, what a life she's had and how humble she is for all the shit that she's gone through. It's amazing. So her dad stole all her money. She still forgive him. So that's crazy. Money, 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 money. It makes the world go round. Money. Down, 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 doodle, down, 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 down. Money, 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 money. It makes people do weird fucking things. Money makes people do such weird things. And if big old Hollywood was a big old piggy bank, that piggy bank's got to keep filling up inevitably over and over again. They got to keep the pig fed constantly. They got to feed the zoo. They got to feed the fucking pig. And when they're done with you, they're done. If you don't make enough money for the pig, you're out. They don't want you anymore. If you're not cute anymore, if you're not adorable anymore, if you're not sellable anymore, you're not feeding the pig. And the studio executives and things like that, at that time, they had so much power. They could just stomp on your career and make sure that you weren't in Hollywood anymore. You were just kind of canceled. I guess they say now, canceled. You're out of there. They didn't see you again and you were done. So, it's kind of crazy. And I don't understand why people need so much power. Levels of power. Studio executives have power. And like I say, back to stage parents in power. Thank goodness Britney Spears just got freed from her fucking prison of life that was her dad. And the courts just freed her. Now she can have some sort of a life. I hear that she is pregnant. Congratulations to her. Britney Spears. I'm happy that Britney Spears is fucking finally free. Honestly, her life was garbage. She was not allowed to do anything at all. Her dad was absolutely terrible to her. And she wasn't allowed to get married if she wanted to. She's a grown woman, in her 40s. She's older than me. So thank goodness and bless all the gods that Britney Spears is free. And again, that's a perfect example of parents in the way. But, there's plenty of supportive parents, and I know because I had them. I had many parental figures and supportive parents along the way. And these are people in your life that want you to succeed, and there's nothing in it for them. They just want you to succeed because they believe in you. They believe in what you're doing. They believe in what you're saying. They believe in what you're singing or believe in what you're playing. And they just believe in you and they want you to succeed no matter what, just because they're awesome people, not for any other reason than they just believe in you. And they think that you're awesome too. So that said, no matter who's supporting you, find that supportive person who is supporting you, whether it's your parents or a parental figure, someone who is a parental figure to you. Maybe I'm the parental figure to you. I don't know. Find who that supportive person is. Find that person who's in your corner. Find those corner people. Those corner people are good people. Find out who's supporting you and let them support you. Let them be in your life and let them be absolutely supportive to you, because that's what you need. You need that parental figure. I had them to support you and along your journey of whatever you're doing, it's cool and you're cool and let them be there for it. I'm here for it. Let them support you and let them love you for who you are, because people need to believe in who you are and what you are for no reason. I've had this experience myself. People just believing in you because they do. It's good for your soul. It turns you and it humbles you, and I think it just turns you into better, I think it just humbles you and turns you into a more well-rounded adult. But I did, see other bands and performers there, like when I was young. And there were other factors at play when I was young. I could see bands that didn't have the support that I had when I was young, and them get into kind of a lot of trouble, things they really shouldn't have gotten into. So I'm glad for that support. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for that support. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful to have had those people in my life that were supportive and have been supportive along the way and have been, giving me a watchful eye and protected me along the way, because things could have been really bad. I saw a lot of shit, but not as much shit as I could have seen. Oh my God, I saw a lot of shit, like I say, but not as much shit as I could have seen if I didn't have the people I had with me protecting me. And these were adults in the situation, but protecting, like I say, minors, children in the situation. We had the protection. So like I say, that was good. Speaking of playing, I'm not going to be playing for you right now, but I am going to be playing for you once a month, kind of like it's that time of the month. It's kind of like I'm coming for you once a month. It's kind of be like a, Tana Candler's School to Spin idea. I'm going to spin an album. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see which one you want to hear. We're going to talk about it, through DMs or through comments or whatever, through lives, however we're going to talk about it. We're going to spin an album once a month, front to back, both sides, generally vinyl. We're going to talk about it through your live questions and through live stream. We're going to talk about it once a month. It'll be Tana Candler's School of Spin. We're going to do it right here live on YouTube every month. We're going to be doing that. I'm excited to start that with you and see which album we're going to start with first. We're definitely going to be talking about some fun albums. The horror music collaboration thing has been going slowly because I am, slow. Because I'm old. My wonderful, magical musical partner and collaborator, like I say, she's a keener and she's just rip-roaring and ready to go at all times. So working with her is awesome. Like I say, I'm not teasing you any longer. My collaborator, I'm telling you, she's awesome. I've been playing like a game where I've been dancing around pronouns for a while and just saying my collaborator. But I'm blessed to work with her. And I said it was this goth girl that I know. So this is someone who appreciates the dark as much as I do. Definitely appreciates the dark and scary and macabre things. I want to know, what do y'all want for album art? Do you want pictures of our glorious fucking faces? Or do you want like some creepy album art that's been drawn? Or do you want a little bit of both? Do you want some cemetery stuff? Like, what do you want to see? There's been stuff going on that you don't know. And I want to know what you want. I want to know what you want. And again, do you want something scary? Like, what do you want? Again, I'm aiming for Halloween, but again, you can't put a time and a punch card on greatness and creativity. Like I will tell you, some of the best albums I've ever heard have taken long wait times. Like On the Line, for instance, by Jenny Lewis, one of my favorite albums ever. We'll talk about this probably on Tana Candler's School of Spin on one of our other shows. We're definitely going to talk about this because, like I say, with Jenny Lewis, that album took her 5 years to record. It's an absolutely award-winning album. That album, like she say, it takes its time. It takes its time as an album. It took its time to record. It's fantastic. I'm absolutely blown away by how good it is. It's fantastic. If you can hear On the Line by Jenny Lewis, you should probably listen to it. It's really good. It's really good. You should listen to it. But like I say, I'm really excited to record this horror album. And like I say, we got some cool things coming down the pipe. There's been some chit chat back and forth. It's Mother's Day weekend, like I say, you mothers. So what type of matriarchal figure do you have in your life? What type? Who's there for you? It doesn't matter who's there for you. Whoever it is, whatever kind of motherly sort of figure and matriarchal kind of figure you have in your life, no matter whom they are, celebrate them. I want you to celebrate them this weekend, whoever they may be. If they make you feel loved, if they make you feel safe, if they make you feel accepted, that's a mom to me. That's a mother figure to me. And if they make you feel all those things, celebrate them this weekend as it is Mother's Day weekend, and you should be celebrating them. Get outside with them. You know what I heard? Stacy's mom has got it going on. Stacy's mom has got it going on. I'm in love with Stacy's mom, so happy Mother's Day, you mothers. I'll tell everyone out there. And I forgot, yes, there was a question that came up through DMs. This is funny. And actually 2 DMs have been about this. And this is funny. What's it about? Believe it or not, nothing about moms, nothing about Mother's Day, nothing about old Hollywood, nothing about sexual assault, nothing about pedophiles, nothing about anything like that. This question came to me through DMs about coffee and about what Bulletproof Coffee is and about what I've been drinking, what I've been doing about Bulletproof Coffee. Maybe I'm going to do one of those go through my day videos so I can show you how I do my day even before a podcast or before how I start my day just generally. I think it'll be fun. It's Other Mother's Day. Look at this t-shirt. Oh my God, it's so awesome. But let me tell you, I've been drinking this stuff. I've been drinking Bulletproof Coffee, or Bulletproof iced coffee in my case. It's when you like blend your coffee, your hot coffee, with coconut oil. You just put a couple spoons in and blend it up really good so it like emulsifies, and it slowly releases when you put your cream in your coffee. I use oat cream or like an almond milk silk cream. It emulsifies it and it slowly releases into caffeine in a way in your body. So the way it's metabolized, you don't get jittery or anxious from the caffeine or anything like that. You don't have to pee every 10 seconds from having coffee. You can do it with your hot coffee too. You can have Bulletproof Coffee. Just, look it up on the internet. Bulletproof Coffee's there. Maybe I'll make a recipe or a video or some shit. I did that ice cube shit on my TikTok or whatever on my Instagram. It was there for you to see how to what to do with your leftover coffee, how to make sure your iced coffee's never watery again. Just make coffee ice cubes. Come on, use your brains, people. That said, I will tell you, I love Bulletproof Coffee. Get outside today. Get outside. I'm going to get outside today. I'm going to do some gardening. I'm going to do some mowing. Maybe I'm going to barbecue some veggie burgers or something. Something is going to be good because Mother's Day weekend, it's Mother's Day weekend. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you that I'm grateful for all the listens, all the likes, all the watches, all the shares, all the clicks. Don't think that they go unnoticed because I see them. And all the interactions, all the comments, I try to get back to every single buddy on there, but it's hard sometimes to get back to everyone. So I wanted everyone to know, and people who are listening and watching, that I appreciate. And I love every single one of you for tuning in and listening every week and being, loyal like that, being part of the club, party in the club. You know where you can find me every single fucking week. You know where you can find me because it's the podcast that you may want to stop, but it's not going to stop. You can find me at 21st Century Rocker Mom pretty much anywhere on the internet you want. You can find me on Instagram at 21st Century Rocker Mom. You can find me on TikTok at 21st Century Rocker Mom. You can find me on YouTube, and you better just click subscribe to any of these things or just follow me. Then you won't have to look for me. Click subscribe. You can find me on Tanya Candler channel on YouTube. Click subscribe. If you click the subscribe button, you'll find me there anytime. You'll find me there every week. And you can find me on Twitter. I'm tweeting at Tanya Candler. You can find me there every week. And of course, you can find me wherever you can stream podcasts, on Apple Music, wherever you like to stream podcasts. There's an Anchor FM link in my bio on Instagram and everywhere else you find podcasts. I will see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful week. Go hug your mother. You'll never have another. And I hope you have a wonderful week ahead of you. And cheers to the week. I love you. Thank you all for listening in and tuning in with me for another week of 21st Century Rocker Mom podcast. I love ya. Peace to ya. Bye.